Hello, hello, guys. Welcome to the Gem, the Grand Enterprise. I am super duper excited, y'all. I have an amazing guest that is joining me today on the Gem. It is the one and only Coach Diamond Drip, y'all. I am super duper excited, y'all. Listen, we in here. Y'all know the GEM is the Grand Enterprises Movement. Our mission is to motivate, to energize, to uplift, to encourage, and of course, to inspire one another each and every single day. And we have someone who is very inspirational to the business industry, to entrepreneurs, y'all. Coach Diamond Drip is in the building, y'all. So welcome, Coach.
Oh my gosh, it is so awesome to be here with you, Tammy. Your energy, like I'm used to being told that my energy is contagious, but like your energy, I just need more.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I truly, truly appreciate it. Listen, I'm excited just with all the wonderful things that you do, Diamond. And thank you for, accepting this invitation and linking up with me through Black Speakers Network. Shout out to Black Speakers Network, y'all. If you are not already a member, yes, I'm shouting them out because they are amazing. They connect people to people, y'all, especially people that are in the public speaking world. Like Diamond and myself, we are renowned public speakers. We speak in various different platforms. We use our platform through social media and other outlets to really spread a word of inspiration, but also to coach you through, different journeys that you're on. And Diamond is here today to really talk about the impact that she's making with entrepreneurs through her coaching, through just her public speaking, and also so many other things that she does. So Diamond, please, please, please share with our viewers today what you do and how you do what you do, boo.
I love that so much. So, the first thing I want to say is I am a soul having a human experience. That's always how I like to start out because so many of us forget that. We focus on the actual human part, and it's like we're so much more than that. We're so much more than the limitations of this 3-day body. Moreover than that, I am a coach, as you mentioned, and a speaker, as well as a mom of a beautiful 7-year-old named Taylor. And she will be so happy that I just gave her that shout out.
Shout out, Taylor.
Yes. My official title is a human design and energy alignment coach and soon to be soul realignment practitioner.
Nice, nice. So, all right, that is a lot. And people, let me tell you, people may not know exactly what that means. So I'm gonna need you to go a little bit deeper into, what does it mean to realign your soul? And then a people practitioner. What is that? What you say? Is that? Don't let me get it wrong, Diamond. Correct me if I'm wrong, honey, because we don't want to be on here making it wrong. But let us dive in a little deeper. Tell us a little bit more about
Absolutely.
what that means to us. Yep.
Absolutely. So, human design is the science of differentiation. So, it combines a number of different sciences into what we call the unique energetic blueprint. So, it combines astrology, astronomy, quantum physics, the Kabbalah tree of life, the Chinese I Ching, just to name a few, right? And so, what the synthesis of those different sciences does is it gives you a blueprint for how to use your energy best. So many of us are operating out of our conditioning. So, believing what our friends, our family, or the biggest one, society tells us we should or have to believe or adhere to. And that really takes us out of alignment with who we truly are at soul level. So that's the human design part. It combines gene keys a little bit, which is another modality that looks closely at the Chinese I Ching. And so that is all about shadow work. And I know, don't run
Yes.
away. Like shadow work is actually good. Like
it is good. It is good.
So those two kind of work hand in hand. And then the soul realignment practitioner piece, it comes from the Akashic records. So our souls, depending on your belief system, of course, everything is always with your belief system. Our souls have had numerous incarnations. And so we have what are called positive choices and we have negative choices. So even with human design and gene keys, at the end of the day, we have free will. So even though we have opportunities to really align with the decisions that bring us the most satisfaction, joy, fulfillment, we can still make negative choices. And over different lifetimes, that creates karma and dharma. And so, with the soul realignment work that I am getting certified to do right now, is it actually is helping clear some of those negative choices, those negative patterns that are holding us back from stepping into our true potential here in this lifetime.
Wow, I absolutely love that. I was recently talking to somebody about spirituality, versus religion. And, people don't tend to want to tap into that because people are like, oh, if I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious, that makes me a bad person. Do you hear that? And if so, can you elaborate on what, that whole negative, I guess, thinking towards spirituality, and how to overcome that?
Yeah, so it really just comes down to perspective. I actually had this conversation with my aunt. I've been helping her shed some of her conditioning. She had her 80th birthday in March. So she's had years of beliefs. And one of the things that almost kind of triggered her when I started talking about her human design, her spirituality in this way, I forget what I said, but I was like, at the end of the day, it's a belief system. And she was almost gonna question, like, combat it. Like, one of her gates was like triggered. And so I had to point out that she is now identifying as Catholic. However, before that, she identified as Episcopalian. And before that, there's probably something else, but she was raised Baptist or Methodist. So at the end of the day, like, you convert it to different things because your beliefs evolved and grew. Like, at the end of the day, when you believe in spirituality the way that I do, you know that there's a higher power, you know that there is divine source. Religion just puts different labels on that, different beliefs behind that. So you can believe in one, you can believe in the other, you can believe in both. And it, at the end of the day, it's your perspective, it's your belief system, and whatever brings you joy and fulfillment, like, who are we to knock that?
I love that. I love that. I love and see, that is what I feel that we tend to miss, is that we should embrace people with, no matter what their choices are and their perspective on faith, right? Whatever you believe is what you believe, and we can't change that. I'm a Christian. I have identified as being a Christian, and but I feel like I'm more evolving into like spirituality, and with Christianity as my base, because I believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, but I also believe in just, so many other things outside of the basis of the religion, that I'm more so like, I do believe that, you know overall, we, there's certain principles and things that we must adopt and kind of, nurture and kind of tap into, right? Like you said, we all have free will and choice. And so I never want to knock or, disregard anybody for their free will and choices that they make, right? Because that's them. What we choose individually is up to us. And for me, I preach and teach the gospel, right? I do believe in the Bible. I believe that it was a book that is, it is a book that's written by man, but inspired by the Most High. And so, and there's numerous research that supports that, right? And so, while that is the case, I do read a lot of different texts, and I do, reference different texts and different research that I do in my teachings, because I want people to have a holistic view to make decisions on their own. Because I'm not the person, even though I'm teaching the word, I'm not the person that's going to make the decision for you. Ultimately, it's your own individual choice and that own individual relationship, right? So yeah, I feel you, girl. So, Diamond, listen, I want to talk about some of the business stuff that you do with helping businesses to like be mindful with their like how they grow, and like just tapping into that for a little bit, because people want to kind of hear, okay, this is Diamond, the coach on this side, the spiritual and soul fulfilling side. But then what about this side, the business stuff that you do?
Yeah, so that's all a part of it. So I actually found the modalities that I use within my business at a point where I was searching for my business superpower. I've been an entrepreneur for 4 years, and I had a product-based business for like 2 of those years. About a year into that business, I started my second business. And so I was running two businesses at once while also pursuing my degree. And then, like I said, I'm a mom. So at some point, after my clinical trial experience, I had this awakening point where I was like, okay, what out of these things do I enjoy the most? And so one of the things that I noticed was that I liked coaching. And my immediate first response was, okay, I want to help people feel better the way that my trial helped me feel better. But I fear. That's the only thing I can say. I was like, I don't know how to market that. I don't know how to do that. But the one thing that people always ask me was like, okay, well, how do I start a business? You've been in business for a while. So I was like, well, since people are asking me about this, then I guess I should be a business coach. And so last year, I spent a lot of my time and energy and effort branding myself as this business coach because my degree is in visual communication. So that's the branding piece. I love AI tech, like tech stuff. So helping people create systems in their business that use technology to their benefit, because as when you're a solo entrepreneur, you don't always have the money, the income just yet to hire people. So make technology work for you. And even though I was getting clients and those clients were happy, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I was like, there has to be something more. There has to be something that I can bring to the table that other business and mindset coaches can't. And so that was when I found human design, and it helped me understand my superpower in a way that I was beginning to actually get frustrated everywhere. Like I said at the beginning, everywhere I went, people said, like, your energy is contagious, your energy is infectious. And I was like, if I could bottle up my energy and sell it, that would be a great business model. However, you cannot do that. And so it began to frustrate me because I saw it as something outside of myself. And so now that I have these modalities that help me understand my superpowers and help my clients understand their superpowers and how they can bring that into their business, my thing is like, yes, I still do business coaching. However, I lead with and I start with the spirituality, because
Yeah.
if you're not down for the shadow work, if you're not down for understanding how to use your energy best and get out of things like imposter syndrome and new shiny object syndrome, then you're just going to keep getting swept up in whatever the new thing is. And you're going to be caught in comparison even more. And you're just going to keep changing anything that we create together. Like if we create a brand
Yes.
and we create this social media strategy that is like, oh yeah, I watched this YouTube video that said we should do it this way, and so I'm going to do it this way, but that's not actually aligned for you. When you realize that that's not aligned for you, you're just going to need a rebrand. Like, why not start with you knowing who you are, like through and through, and then bringing that into your business? So that's
Yeah.
from the business perspective.
I love that. And you know what? That's like my motto is I can't be all things to all people, right? So I operate in what flows naturally for me and my gifts, and it flows, it just feels right, right? And so when the next shiny thing does come along, or the next great idea, if it don't make sense and it don't fit with my business model, then I just be like, that ain't for me. Or if it's something that can enhance it, I'm like, how can we incorporate that? And so what you're saying is actually right. And that's how people stay the course and be successful in entrepreneurship, is when they know they're operating in their lane and they don't deviate. They add to, but they don't subtract or take away. You know what I mean? Like, unless
Yeah.
it just doesn't work, right? And we find that through trial and error, but you have to stay the course. And it's not like a quick fix thing, because a business takes time to grow. That first year, you're going through growing pains, up, downs, and in betweens. So you just gotta like really put in that work to understand that, eventually it's
Yeah.
gonna come to fruition, and things are really gonna happen the way that, you know, the Most High has intended it to. So yeah, I feel that. Okay, so let's get into these questions. I haven't even gotten to the
Okay.
questions, y'all. Oh my gosh. I'm fascinated with your work because it is just so different. You know, I want you to tap into, you know, tell us a little bit about like some of your wins, your great successes, because I see all of different partners that you worked with. Claim Your Potential, the City of Laurel, Tapping In, Open Foundation, Leadership Experience Tour, all of those different brands and logos. You know, people see it. I love your website, by the way, but you know,
Thank
tell
you.
people a little bit more about like how you connected with those businesses and brands and what you did for them to help them to really you know, engage their audience and get a little bit further.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, those I didn't start getting out front and visible with my business. I was in a business coaching program, and there were a lot of one size fits all approaches that did not align for me. And I spent a lot of energy and time trying to make them work for me. But like you said, it's all trial and error. And so now I know that those things don't work. But one of the things that did was you are like the face of your business. So if you're not getting out there with your message and your mission, then people don't really know who you are. And before they buy anything in your business, whether you're a service-based business or a product-based business, they buy you first. They have to know, like, and trust you first. So in an effort to get out of right, I work from home. So I'm good like in the house, like in my little office, just minding my business, doing whatever on the computer. However, people don't know who I am if I do that. so so I really started getting involved with like partnering and doing workshops of my own online. I One of my gates is the gate of extremes, and I went ham. I would do like a workshop a week, and then I was also doing all these other things. Like it was a lot. And so somewhere in there I found the balance, and that's how some of these partnerships came up. Just figuring out where I fit was a part of that. So even with like Claim Your Potential, I remember I wanted to do like business branding,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, can you do personal brand? And so it pushed me out of my comfort zone, but it still was something that was necessary, because even as business owners, like when you get to a certain point, you have a personal brand and then you have your
Yes.
business brand. So I was like, okay, I'll bite the bullet. But those opportunities, those opportunities came from just being authentically me, and pushing myself beyond the fear. Even with the leadership experience tour, that was a situation where we did a pitch competition. So we
Wow.
met, yeah, we met for like I think it was like 2 months, something like that. And we would just like practice our pitches. They had coaches in the
Wow.
breakout rooms giving us feedback. And then we had like the big pitch night where we had to like really show up. And I remember that night I was at a networking event in person, and it was a really like it was such a powerhouse event. I was like, I can't say no to this, but also I have this other thing. And that's totally me. Like I'm in the car waiting for my daughter, like in my little car office, because I bought one of those over the desk, like just doing a
Yes.
bunch of things at once. So I squirreled away in a corner and I gave my pitch, and it ended up, getting me a scholarship to actually do the tour.
Wow.
And
Wow.
even even that, so I got that in June. The tour is in September. So then it was
Wow.
like, okay, what am I gonna say on stage for 8 to 10 minutes? Like this this is this is like, because we're getting all these tips about like bring yourself into it, and take us on highs and lows, and then introduce humor. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do all of that though. But I got, they coach you throughout as you're leading up. And so I got the feedback, and then I just despite everything, despite all the fear, all the insecurity, all the imposter syndrome around that event, um, I showed up. And it's funny because I actually had a scare the night before, I actually
Wow.
gave my talk. So we had rehearsals. And so I had been practicing
Mm.
with a little teleprompter app and it
Oh, I
counted
love
up.
that app. I love
Yes.
that
Yes.
app.
So I've been practicing because he was like, make it a part of you, because once you make it a part of you, then you can kind of, add tone and fluctuation and all the things. So I was like, okay, let me make it a part of me. And so the teleprompter app counted up. So I was like, okay, as long as I don't go over 10, it's cool. When I got to rehearsal, it counts down from 8. So I was on stage trying to say my like perfectly memorized thing. And I just like, because my brain couldn't compute that it was counting down and it was red and it also didn't start at 10, I just had this deer in the headlights moment where it was like,
Oh my goodness.
I don't remember words. And I literally just froze. And, the coaches were like, oh my gosh, she's freezing. She's locking up. So they started asking me questions, which helped me get back on track. But I was scared to death
Wow.
that I was going to like be live on stage and like actually forget my words. And so, that didn't happen, thankfully.
Thank
Um,
goodness.
but all of those situations were things where I might have had some fear or self-doubt about my ability to do the thing, and I pushed through it because I knew that, one, at that time I knew that you should feel the fear and do it anyway, because oftentimes what lies on the other side of fear is greatness. So I was like,
That's right.
okay, let me just push through it. But those are all partnerships that I look back like super fondly on, because I'm like,
Oh,
wow,
wow.
like I was definitely scared to do that, but I did it anyway, and look at it now.
Exactly, exactly. And I was interviewing Avery Simone last week, and she said, do it scared. She's like, whatever you do, do it scared. Like, don't even wait till like you're comfortable, because then you overthink things. And when you're scared, you're like, I'm gonna just do this thing, and that is when we sometimes have our best moments. It's because we're so nervous and afraid, and
Yeah.
honestly, I think the spirit just moves through us and just be like, I got you, girl. I got you. And you show up. So,
Yeah.
and then, you start to become relaxed. I mean, at least I do. Once I'm like in the midst of it, I'm talking and I might find somebody in that room to connect with because I'm super silly. So I'll be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you.
Yeah.
But I literally I understand that fear factor, and the Most High give us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. So we're gonna push
Yes.
past that. We're gonna push past that. I'm
Yes.
I'm so glad to hear that you are an overcomer. That you don't let fear stop you, both. So let's talk
Absolutely.
about it. So we talked about some of your greatest success. What do you feel are your biggest was your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah. So I was in the Air Force for a little bit, and I ended up being early separated because of my depression. And so the I'll start with the lesson. So when you start anything in authenticity, it will bite you in the butt. And so this was no different. So in the qualification period of like, going like signing up and getting all the stuff done so you can go to basic and all of the things, um, I knew that I had like this depressive side of me. And when I was talking with my recruiter about it, she basically was like, yeah, if you want to be in, like that can be a thing. Like, and I was just like, okay. So like the integrity in me was like, so I'm just like lying then. But I was like, I really didn't have any other choice. The narrative that we're fed is you go to school, you get good grades so you can get into a good college, and then from there you get a good job and blah 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 blah, marry kids, white picket fence, the whole thing. And at that time, I was disconnected from both my parents, and I did not have money for college. And so I was like, if I want a college education, like I got to figure this thing out. And so I knew that, being in service and also being able to pursue my A degree I don't think I would have pursued the degree that I have now in visual communications. I don't think that would have been a thing. But I knew that that was like the way. And even though it was not authentic necessarily, I was like, this is the way to get the things that are gonna bring me happiness. So like suck it up. And I survived the first part of basic. I went to the first part of tech school, and then the second part of tech school was in this place called Wichita Falls, Texas, which I had never heard of. I've heard of Wichita Falls, Kansas, and you might as well be saying the same thing, except no one knows about the other one, quite frankly. And it was like, okay, so first part of tech school, so everyone knows Air Force basic training is San Antonio. So it's hot, it's, people go there for like the river walk and things. Then my second part of tech school was in Biloxi, Mississippi. So I was by the water. It was shores. It was a, especially compared to basic, it was a good time. Third part of tech school, like you're literally in the middle of nowhere, and it was cold. Like it started getting cold when I got there, and it was just like depressing. I miss my family, the people that I went through basic and first part of tech school with, like they were at their second parts of tech school. And it was just a time in my life where I was really, really not feeling it. And so when you're in the early stages, I don't know, I never made it past, tech school, but when they're in the early stages, they kind of act like they care about your mental health. So whenever you go to get anything like physical doctor related, they have this questionnaire that they ask you where basically they're like, what's going on physically? Why are you here? And then there are a couple of questions about like, have you been depressed for more than 2 weeks? Have you had suicidal ideations? And so I would always say no, because I knew what saying yes would get me. And so I had finally had enough, and I was like, yes, actually. And they took me in the back with the therapist, and they were like, okay, what's going on? And I was saying everything that I felt, and they were like, oh, you're a danger. Okay. And so the last part of my Air Force career, if you can even call it that, was spent in hospitalization. They call it voluntary, but you really didn't have a choice. And that showed me that, like, the very thing that I was almost hiding in a way when I went in, the truth of the matter from all of the trauma that I had experienced in my childhood and even through high school leading up to that point, like, you can't just pretend it's not there. You can't just sweep it under the rug and just keep on keeping on, because eventually it's going to catch up to you. So when you start, and like I said, when you start anything with inauthenticity at the forefront, like it's gonna bite you in the butt, and not always in the way that you expect.
That is so true. And I don't know what it is that this second season, every last person that has come onto the G.E.M and literally have been talking about just life and just who they are. They talk about authenticity and just being your real self and always presenting who you are and never being shy about that, right? And like don't veer away from it. So that being one of your biggest lessons learned, just being you authentically, like yeah, like for real, it's the thing.
Yeah,
It's
life
the
is too
thing,
short to
y'all.
be anything else. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Yeah. So what I would tell her is, I know that things are rocky right now.
Hmm.
And to be quite honest with you, that's life. Not much is going to change about that. There's always going to be these ups and downs, but what will change is your perspective.
Yeah.
So, whereas everything feels like the sky is falling, I always like to use Chicken Little, like the
Yes.
sky is falling, the sky is falling. Like
Yes.
it feels like the whole world is crashing in. Like it's not. If you really just take, and it's crazy, I'm
I
actually
love that.
reading this book right now called Come As You Are, and she
Mm.
talks about how you have to, it's in relation to context, around
Mm-hmm.
sex, but I think it also applies in life where
Yeah.
you have to run the full cycle of stress. Like she talks
Mm-hmm.
about animals and how like some animals like they'll have the danger alert, and then some of them, you know, they'll run, they'll flee, they'll fight, whatever. But some
Right.
of them will freeze because they think that if they act dead, then the predator will just go away. But they still have all of that energy built up inside of them. And so when the threat is no longer there, they actually like trimmer or shape or do whatever to like finish the cycle, because at the end, so you have the beginning, which is like the trigger, and it's like you
Mm-hmm.
have this action, and then you have to like finish the cycle in order to get to the relief that happens. But so many of us, like especially because everyday stresses and triggers are like, we're not being chased by lions, we're not being chased by dinosaurs, like it's an incompetent boss, it's a partner who's cheated on you, it's traffic, it's whatever. And so we get to these points where like we just sweep it under the rug and we act like it didn't happen. And so like you have to like let the whole response loop or whatever play its role. So what I would tell her is that you're going to learn things that are going to help you manage these things that make you feel like the sky is falling and that the world is basically like crashing down around you. But if you just change your perspective in those moments, it can honestly change the world.
I love that. I love that. And that is facts. Changing your perspective can definitely change the world. Tell me about the three most influential people in your life and how they impacted you.
So, number one would be my Aunt Connie. So, shout out to Aunt Connie, the aforementioned aunt who just turned 80 in March. That woman has been there for me in so many different ways. She hasn't always been perfect, right? None of us are, but she's been there. And so that's more than I can say for some of my other family members who will not be named. But she has definitely been influential. She is one of the kindest people that I know. Like there she's so kind sometimes that it hurts her. She's one of those like categorical people pleasers where it's like she gives me like, right, because there's spectrums. Like there are people who don't care about anyone or anything except themselves. And then there are people who will like burn themselves out trying to like do everything people please. And so she gives me like that balance. It's like I don't want to be like this person who is narcissistic and has these things, but I also don't want to be exactly like that. So there's balance in that, and she's taught me a lot of lessons along the way. The second person that I would say, her name is Candy, and she both these last two people came kind of more recently in my journey, and they have been so well. Candy, I'll start with her. Candy has been so instrumental in me finding the confidence to be my authentic self, like truly in my business. She was the person who, through some of the work that we did together, she helped me realize that my niche are entrepreneurs who either are interested in plant medicine or they've had a plant medicine experience, but because of the stigma around it, they don't feel like they have a space where they can talk about the fact that they rode dragons and fought dinosaurs and that taught them these things. And now they want to bring that into how they're building their business because they feel like they'll be judged for it. And that was something that I was scared to step into. But because, so it's one of those things where, like, yes, I read other people's human design. I've read my own design, but because we have our beliefs and those limitations on ourselves, like you can only get yourself so far. And it was like, how do I synthesize this information and make it tangible for me? Because I know what I'm reading, but that seems like a lot. So she helped me to understand my gifts in the way that I help other people understand their gifts. And then the last person I would definitely have to say, she was the catalyst for um, this human design experiment, as it's called. She had made the pivot that I was scared to make. She had done 20 years of business coaching and consulting, and she decided to become an intuitive life coach. And I was like, what? How did you even like teach me your ways, please, so that I can learn them and do the same? And she was the person who asked me, do you know your energy type? I was like, what are you talking about? And she sent me the calculator that sent me on the rabbit hole that is now my human design experiment. So I can never like thank her enough. And not only that, we are now business partners. There are four of us, but we are now business partners in this business called Your Alignment Project, where we're helping other people find their alignment in this way. And the very thing that she introduced me to, the thing that lights up my soul, I get to do in that business now. So influential, can't even describe it really.
I absolutely love that. And it sounds like each of those three people like really have a unique imprint on your life. And that is truly, truly a blessing. Talking about impact, if we had to have coffee with someone in history that truly had an impact and made a difference, not just in history, but in your life, somebody from history that, if you could just sit down and have coffee with them and have a conversation, who would it be and what would you talk about?
For sure. So there is a person, his name is Neville Goddard. And I don't know, I think he was like
Oh,
back in the,
yeah.
yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Literally in my cart right now because I just heard about it. Yes.
Yes. So I have to thank my life coach for that one. It's crazy. She was an aerospace engineer turned life coach. And I was like, how did you do that? How are you using quantum physics to help people like change their brain? But she did it. She's amazing. I will not ever regret the 6 months that I spent with her. But she told me about the book, The Power of Awareness, I think it is. And then it's like a bonus book of like the power of imagination. And I had no idea how out of touch I was with my imagination, honestly. And it was funny because I read the book because she told me to. But there were times where I had to read the book like a couple different times, like even like the first part where he's talking about I am. And I'm like, okay, I get that, but like it just took me a few reads. And it's funny now because now that I've gone through this awakening with, you know, one plant medicine and then the added bonus of human design, I actually started rereading that book and I was like, this makes so much sense now. Like I am. Like it doesn't need a qualifier or like I am that I am. And that is, and so to sit down with someone who got that back then, because I know the struggle that I'm having now with people who are claiming that they are awake. So for him to have done that work and to have put out those bodies of works, those theories at a time where people were like, right? This was a time where people were like horse and buggying it. And you know how long it took for people to like get on board with the automobile. They were like, we don't need that. Like, yeah, actually, it makes life easier. Actually, they were like, we don't need electricity. We're good with the candles. Actually, though, so to like pick his brain about like how he kept fighting the good fight, as it were, and put out these bodies of work that have been so instrumental and are still getting recommended to this day.
Yes, because April Mason, I don't know if you know who she is, but she talks a lot about tapping into your femininity and all of that feminine energy and things like that. And so I follow her, and she had referenced a part of her like it's like a club that's like separate from the main group, but it's like it's a paid subscription, y'all. So, but April Mason has like this group of just understanding like who you are and your feminine energy, but not discrediting the masculine energy. You know, it's a whole lot. But she referenced Neville, and she talks about his book and how that helped her to realize she was thinking it all wrong, doing it all wrong. And so that's how she came to be the entrepreneur that she is. I mean, part of it was reading his books and really doing the work behind it to really get to where she is today. So, yep. Shout out to April.
You're right. Yeah.
Right. Oh, and then I want to ask you, like, what area are you in? Like, I'm in the DMV. I don't know, because I saw like Laurel on here. I was like, where is she? Is she in my neighbor?
Yeah, I'm in Maryland, so close to College Park. Physically right now,
Oh,
I'm at Temple Mother Earth. I don't know if you've ever been, but it's in
no.
DC. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Is that? I think I've seen it. I've never been there, but I've seen it. Okay, okay,
Probably. Probably.
yeah,
We're trying to
okay,
get the brand out there. That's one of the things that I signed up to help them with, is like helping them get their brand identity out there, because more
yeah.
people need to know about it.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, listen. Um, if I could ask you this, okay, what is one piece of advice that you would give someone that's really just starting out in business, but also with doing some of the soul work and wanting to get into that? Like, how what kind of advice would you give people?
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is that it's never a sign of weakness to ask for help. So when it comes to business, I was pretty proud of the fact that I had grown my business without like really any, like I'd never had a coach or anything. Like that first business grew and it was just off the strength. But one of the things I've learned is what got you here won't get you there. And so when I finally found a business coach, albeit her one size fits all methods that were not always aligned, but when I finally met a business coach who helped me shift the narrative around sales as a spiritual exchange versus, I used to work for a gym. So I knew all the salesy ways and I hated all of them. So when she started talking about like it's energy, like you are helping someone step into a transformation, and that is valuable, and you deserve to be compensated. Life is not free. So you have to you have to make sure that that is met. And even when it comes to like the spiritual or like the mental health side of it, I have had so many therapists throughout my life. And like I said, I I have gone down a rabbit hole of human design. I have more knowledge than most people who've been in the practice for years have known, just because of how deeply I studied and how much attention that I paid to all of the intricacies. However, I needed help applying my own design to like practical things, because my mind was telling me that I, like in my gene key somewhere it says I'm a force of continual expansion in the world. And I'm like, am I though? I believe it now, but it took work to believe that. It took help. It took people seeing me to actually step into that.
I absolutely love that. Listen, and again, like people I've been talking to recently, especially women, I love us. I love men too. I just love what we're doing with business and just, being creative in our spaces, right? And literally, I was just talking to somebody who was mentioning about, like just really like stepping out there and like not being afraid, but also, thinking through your process, because we sometimes think that we can do it all. I know me, I'm a mega tasker. I'll tell you that right now. And I will do 1,000 different things. I'm similar to you. Like I'll be doing it all myself. And she was like, girl, if you don't get you some help, I was like, help. But that costs too much. She's like, help don't cost that much. Like, because I like there's different things that I want to do with my brands, the personal and the business brand, and different things that I'm trying to really get into my book series that I'm writing. And I'm like, I can't do that right now because I got to manage this, do this, do that. She was like, you need help? You need help. And once you get help, you'll be freed up. You can be creative.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, eventually. So talking to in this season, literally the people that have come on my platform have literally been talking about just about that. Get some help. People, brown people, we don't like getting no help. Brown people, get some help.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so silly. All right. So, what podcast are you listening to or watching right now? And like your top three?
So when when I saw that, I couldn't help but think of the podcasts that have really helped me. Like the podcasts I listen to now, it's not that they don't help me, but these podcasts got me through a really dark period in my life. Like this first one, the Kind Mind Project with Emily Helderman. I don't even know if she's still making episodes, but we know podcasts, they live evergreen. And she was one of the people who said that phrase, like, I have a new, more spiritual way of looking at this now, which is, when you are about to step into something, when you're about to take a quantum leap, energetically, you feel it. And so when you have that perspective shift of like, I'm about to jump timelines, I'm about to take a leap, it helps you to step into that. But before I had that, she was the person who had said, feel the fear and do it anyway. And that was something that was a time where I was fearful of so much. I doubted so much about myself that was so helpful for me, like as a motto to help get me through it. The second one, to that effect, is called, I love that we're talking about like brown people and women. It's Therapy for Black Girls with Dr. Joy Harden Bradford. And I love how, she makes mental health digestible, especially for us Black women. Like there are so many of us who are like, I don't, right, the what is it, the superhero shiro approach, like, yeah, I could take that. I could take that too. I can do it all. Yep. Yep. And then I'm gonna get my kids ready, and then and it's like, no, you're breaking. Actually, you can't do it all. Like, and so I love the way she makes it digestible. And then the last one, it's called the Angry Therapist Podcast, and it's by American Public Media. And he got me through, like, it's funny because he also talks about mental health, but like the way he does it is in such a way where it makes it, there's like humor in it. And I love the way he approaches certain subjects. Like when I was working at the gym, I didn't really know anything about podcasts, but I knew that I liked what he was saying enough to like keep watching episodes. And I'm one of those people who, like, I won't watch the most recent episode. Like I'm gonna go back to, like, season 1, episode 2, and see what you was really talking about. Like, yeah, we've grown, but like, what were you really on? How did you pivot into this? So he was one of those ones.
Absolutely. Well, make sure you send me those because I want to definitely check them out. They sound interesting for sure. And y'all, for real, check out other people's podcasts. Like, even if you're a podcaster yourself, like just listen and tune into other things that people are talking about and what they're, like, I mean, just because you can get inspired, literally. So as we begin to start to wrap up, I've had you on here for so long, but I just love talking to you. What gems that others have shared with you have had an impact on your life and the way that do you think? And I know you shared a few throughout this
Yeah.
interview, but yeah.
So I have 3. So one of them came from Candy. We have a lot of the same energy format channels or whatever. And she's like, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I love that one.
And I'm like, right? Because even with my degree being in visual communications, I'm like, I can do the branding. I just need to create time in my schedule so I can do it, but I can do it. And it's like, I'm stressing myself out trying to create time where it's like, literally someone could do this in an hour and we would be
Yep,
good. So
that's so true.
the second one, I kind of already alluded to it, which is just get ready for quantum leaps. Like if you're feeling some sort of procrastination energy, when you know that whatever is on the other side of it is going to bring you success, like just get ready for the change. Like don't so many of us think that we're afraid of failure, but really we're afraid of success. We're afraid of the responsibility that comes with if we succeed. What's next? The unknown in that. And then the last one comes from one of my current coaches. He's like, you can't guide someone down a journey that you yourself haven't been down.
Yes.
And that was one that hit home. I was like,
Wow.
yeah, that's why starting out as a business coach, right? Because I was coaching people on how to build successful service-based businesses when I had product-based business experience. I'm imposter syndrome was like my life.
Right. I love that. I love that. And, you know, since you had so many wonderful gems dropped in your life, what are some gems that you want to drop in the viewers' lives and inspire them?
Yeah, so two. This is one, I swear I need to get a shirt made, but the limit does not exist. But fear and self-doubt will make you believe that it does. So that's the one that is always my go-to. And then the other one, I actually said this on another podcast, and I have an assistant, so help, right? Get help. He just cut up some shorts, clips from that interview, and one of the things that I said that like I've been embracing on like an unconscious level, but also like I was like, oh yeah, I did used to say that, but comfort and growth cannot coexist. So just realize that
I
and
love
know
that.
that like it's gonna be a little rocky, it's gonna feel a little unstable, but like just know that growth is coming.
I love that. I love that. Comfort and growth, y'all can't, what?
Yeah,
If
cannot
you could be,
coexist.
cannot coexist. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Ooh, my girl Maya Angelou said it best. So I want
Yeah.
to be remembered for the way I made people feel. I want to be
Mm,
remembered for my energy, my light, which is
yes.
working because people are
I
digging
love it.
that.
Yes, yes. I'm telling you, like when literally when I got we exchanged information and I, you know, read your bio and just, you know, looked at your website and things like that. I was like, she's shining. And it's a different light. It's like you said, it is just, it's that the spirit just radiating the light just shining through you, girl. So just keep doing what you're doing, honestly. And, you know, last but not least, where can people find you? You know, you are such an amazing soul. I absolutely, absolutely adore you. And this is just the beginning, Diamond Drip. We got so much work to do, girl, because
Yes.
I need help. Help.
Help. Help.
Right?
Absolutely. So the main place where all of the links and all of the things are on my website, diamonddripconsulting.com. But similar to what I encourage my clients to do is build a brand that people can find you on. So I've kind of since April been working on coining this hashtag Coach Diamond Drip. And
Yes.
so I have people in Australia, I have people in Canada, I have people who are here who every so often I'll be like, can you search the hashtag Coach Diamond Drip and just see what comes up? And they'll like screenshot it and I'm like, yes, the
Yes.
branding is working. Yes. So
Nice.
either one of those, hashtag Coach Diamond Drip, or you can go to my website and find all of the links.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love that. Listen, Coach Diamond Drip, I'm gonna need you to help the G.E.M and Tammy
Yeah.
Torres, because you know it's two
Yeah.
different brands, y'all. She just told y'all it's the personal brand and then it's the business brand. And then I have a business umbrella of things that just, yeah. So, and I can't do it all. So help. I truly, truly appreciate you for gracing us with your presence here at the G.E.M. We appreciate you for rocking with us. So thank you for, because I don't know what just happened.
I don't
Continuing to
either.
rock with the G.E.M. We appreciate you. We thank you. And yeah,
Thank you.
definitely keep rocking with us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. As I'm sideways.
I know, right?
I know. Well, have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. All right.